What's going on, you guys? TBR here, back yet again with another King of Fighters Allstar video. And in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the Phantom Gatekeeper Zero from the new Epic Quest Chapter 2, and putting him through his paces in a couple of different game modes throughout PvE, to try and check his overall PvE viability. And spoiler alert, this character is actually absolutely insane, and we are going to talk about some of the reasons why in today's video. But before we get into all of that and more, if you're new here to the channel and you haven't done so yet, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe. And let's go ahead and get into today's video. Now, Phantom Gatekeeper Zero is going to be a green defensive type unit with a leadership skill that increases Nest Fighters' attack by 45% and their power charge rate by 20%. So overall, as we have mentioned before, this leadership skill is extremely good, being the fact that there are a ton of Nest tagged characters in this game at this point, some of varying degrees of viability. However, this character does allow them to get up and go as their leader, so this is going to be a wonderful character to consider for that type of role. Now, when it comes to the typing, a green defensive type is pretty nice for things such as high tiers of Reviving Hell's Dungeon, so overall, pretty nice typing, really nice leadership skill, makes for a very nice start to this kit. Now, if we go ahead and move on to the cores, as you guys will see, he is going to have an increase to his overall darkness attack damage by 30%, an increase to his critical rate by 2.4%, a critical damage rate increase of 30%, a skill enhance to his blast skill damage of 6%, a power gain rate of 20%, and an increase to his overall attack by 840. Then when we get into his exclusive cores, we have Twisted Counterattack that is going to restore 3% of his HP every 1 second for 5 seconds when he's attacked while in fear on a cooldown of 45 seconds, and he resets his skill cooldowns of his S1 upon landing an attack on a stunned target with a cooldown of 10 seconds, and then resets the skill cooldown of his S1 upon landing an attack on a target in darkness. So as you guys can see here, the S1 is going to be something that you are going to be able to spam quite often, and as you guys will see when we get over to the skills and we take a look at the S1, this is actually going to be extremely good, because this means that he is going to be able to keep his hyper armor active a lot longer than some other characters out there, which is particularly good in things such as Guild Raid or in places throughout PvE where there are going to be high damaging bosses. This is always something you love to see. Then if we take a look at the final core, this is going to be Phantom Gatekeeper. This increases active skill damage dealt to enemies affected by darkness by a whopping 80%. And then of course he has the exclusive core that these characters share that gains 1.4% power every 0.4 seconds while in guard, and a PvP exclusive of gaining super armor for 3 seconds when accumulated attack received, guard included, reaches 5 times on a cooldown of 20 seconds. Overall, extremely good stuff here. This is a very nice little core. However, in general, these cores aren't going to be anything overly crazy. However, at the same time, I'm a big fan of what we're seeing here, and overall, all of this is going to end up being a very nice recipe for really good overall sustained damage, which you love to see. So overall, really good stuff, you guys. If we move on to the skills now, you are going to see we had talked about that S1. Well, this is what the S1 does. It is going to give you hyper armor while also being an interrupt. Hyper armor on an interrupt skill is slowly becoming the meta. This is becoming something that we are seeing more and more often throughout the game. So this is something that he loves to see on his kit, and this is something that going forward is probably going to become a standard for a lot of these limited characters. Even though this character is not technically a limited banner character, I still lump him in with the other limited characters just based on his typing as a boss syndrome character, so keep that in mind. Now, if we take a look here at the S2, you are going to see that he is going to have a stun that stuns the target for 3 seconds upon landing a skill, guard included, and then he's going to increase the target's damage received by 26% for 7 seconds upon landing a skill. Really good stuff overall, but not anything too crazy, but you do like to see those stuns. However, those really don't come up a ton in your PvE modes. Now, when we take a look at the final skill here, the S3 is going to increase attack by 35% for 8 seconds, as well as applying Blackout, which is the tier 2 version of Darkness. And then he is also going to have a PvP exclusive that gives him a 60% chance to remove the target's super armor or hyper armor upon landing a skill on a target with super armor or hyper armor. So another really nice PvP skill. This is starting to become one of those skills you see on a lot of these characters, and overall another really nice skill on an already very good kit. So that is pretty much what we are looking at as far as the kit is concerned. In case you guys are wondering, no, I do not have any of the actual stones that you can get from Epic Quest right now for him. What I have on him right now is going to be this Darkness R stone that is going to increase his attack as well as his darkness damage dealt by 25% for 10 seconds upon using an awakened skill. So that is what I've got going on there. Eventually, if I end up getting one of the Phantom Nest's character's imprint stones for him, I'll probably throw it on there, of course, but right now, beggars can't be choosers. So that is what we are looking at as far as the kit is concerned. Overall, this is a character that has some really nice damage output for a defensive type, especially when he is only at Awakening level 1. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a few clips here and show you guys exactly why I'm so impressed with this character, so let's check it out. Alright you guys, so the first thing that I want to go ahead and take a look at here is going to be Expert difficulty against Guild Raid Omega Rugal. So of course, Guild Raid Omega Rugal is going to be weak to darkness, so this is going to be the most viable option for him in Guild Raid, and as you guys can see from this clip, this character is insane in this mode, and there are quite a few reasons as to why. So one of the big hallmarks that you look for in a really good Guild Raid character is of course going to be multi-hits. Multi-hits are a huge deal. You want a character that is going to be able to do as many hits as possible because you want that for the shield shred. Now, of course, this character has a ton of multi-hits, so his shield shred as a result is going to be really, really good. However, one thing that I have noticed, and I can tell you guys this with some pretty good confidence considering the fact that I have had Nightmare Geese since his release, this character is going to probably be the best darkness wielder in the game for Guild Raid Expert against Omega Rugal for shield shred and overall just damage output over a sustained fight. Now, even when you consider the fact that my Nightmare Geese is at Awakening level 5, and the fact that this character is only at Awakening level 1, you will notice that he is going to be able to still output better damage and better shield shred than Geese will be across a solo run. So that is pretty crazy, you guys. This character, for a free-to-play character, yes, I realize he does require some grinding, and yes, I realize that he is going to be a character that is going to take quite a while to build up. I do think that it is going to be worth the wait, because as you guys can see from this clip, he really does just go in and do a ton of work against this boss. Now, again, this partially goes back to the fact that that S1 can reset itself so often, and that is going to be his main source of hyper armor, as well as being an interrupt. So basically what you can do is you can keep your hyper armor up for as long as you possibly could want and never really have to worry about it too much. However, in this mode, you will notice that he will still take a decent amount of damage from the nuke, so keep that in mind until you get him to higher levels of Awakening. This is just going to be a reality for this character as an Awakening level 1 unit. However, in the end, this character is nutty when it comes to this mode. The shield shred, like I mentioned, is insane, and I could see this character being one of the best overall damage dealers in Guild Raid once he is fully maxed out with the proper stones, but that is what I am noticing right now. So in just general bossing and mobbing, of course, this all translates to a character that is going to be extremely strong in these two capacities. Now, one thing that is of note with this character is he is on the slow end, so kind of keep that in mind. This character's skills are a little bit slow, so he isn't going to be necessarily the flashiest, fastest character in the game, but that's okay considering the fact that he is going to be trading off some speed for overall damage output for a defensive type, so you can't really ding him too bad in that regard. But as you guys can see against Phantom Gatekeeper Maxima in this fight, he is already at half HP or just shy of it within just moments of starting the fight. Now, one of the things that I did here is I decided that I was going to wait for my awakening rotation to come back up before I knocked down that pillar, just so that way I could get as much damage out of this character as possible in a solo run, because you don't necessarily want to get stuck with those pillars up for the balance type pillars whenever you have a non-balance type character and you're attempting to solo such as this, so kind of keep that in mind. But you guys can see here, as an Awakening level 1 unit, this character is outputting a ton of damage. So against general bosses, this character really isn't going to have any issues whatsoever, especially thanks to the fact that he has that extra long Awakening rotation. And I get the feeling that down the road, once this character is fully built out, I do feel like this is going to be a character that is going to be outputting just some of the most insane damage you're going to see. Like, to be honest with you guys, most characters can't output damage this quickly, this low a level, so I really do feel like this character is going to end up being something really special in PvE and just in the game in general. Now, one thing that is worth mentioning is the S1 is on the slow side. In fact, it's extremely slow, but that can actually work to your benefit in things such as Championship, where this character is going to be top tier, for the fact that you can use the S1 as an area denial tool as well. So being the fact that it is going to be a little bit slow kind of sucks, but at the same time it isn't necessarily that big of a deal considering you do have interrupt and hyper armor on it, so spamming it out there is okay, and honestly the damage on it is almost secondary at that point for the fact that it is going to keep you impervious to damage so long. But overall, you guys, I think that this character is going to end up being a top tier, tier 1 PvE character. I have a hard time believing he won't be, considering how strong he already is. Now, I guess it is worth mentioning that Ignis is also going to have darkness on his kit as well from these Phantom Gatekeeper characters, so I suppose that that is going to be worth mentioning in the capacity that because you can really only afford to buy one of those memories a month, you're going to kind of have to decide which one of these two characters you want to focus on at a certain point. Now, of course, right now it's going to take forever for any of us to get Ignis, so I guess right now it really doesn't matter. But for those of you who want to future farm and pick up memories for Ignis right now in hopes of building him up once you eventually can get him, this is a concern. However, it's up to you as far as which one is your personal favorite. I personally think that Ignis is going to end up being the best one out of all of them and just be something that is impressive. I mean, honestly, just impressive at a certain point whenever we can actually get our hands on him, but I digress. Now, when we talk about PvAI, this is really another place where this character shines. Again, he has an interrupt with hyper armor, which is really, really good. You can use Glaugan as an area denial tool because he is so slow, and you can go into these fights and just nuke a lot of these different fighters. Even against the meta right now, which is primarily SS, BS, and Dead or Alive characters, he is still going to be able to wipe the floor with most any of them and really not have much of any issue. So in general, you guys, I'm very impressed with this character. If you can't tell, this character seems to me to be one of the best characters that you could possibly want right now on a free-to-play capacity. Now again, it is going to require a lot of grinding. This is not going to be a cheap investment by any stretch of the imagination. You're going to have to invest a lot of time and AP into this character in order to see him shine and to acquire him in general, but I do think it is going to end up being worth it. And again, I don't think that you can discount the fact that he is able to output as much damage as he is able to as a defensive type, even at a low level of Awakening. And you also have plenty of great top tier 3PG options available for him, as well as being able to use and access the boss syndrome stones from the regular boss syndrome characters, so you don't even have to necessarily worry too much about the phantom nest stones from EQ, especially being the fact that those are only available through random boxes right now. But overall, you guys, let me know in the comment section down below how you feel about this character, if you've built him up. Are you planning on building him up? Is he a character you've tried out? Let me know in the comments section down below. I'll be back with tomorrow's video, but until then, make sure you smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Continue.